1924. He lived a colorful and eventful life. He passed away last winter in Sydney, BC. There was a service there for him in January, but Jack's request was that his remains be placed in Harris, and we're here to honor that request today. So thanks to everybody for coming, and grandson Jesse's going to tell you a little bit more about Jack's life.
We are here today to bury the ashes of Lieutenant Colonel Jack William Kaiser, born June 28, 1924, died December 2nd, 2011. In rural Saskatchewan in 1940, a young boy was out shooting gophers when an airplane flew overhead. That was the day that Jack Kaiser decided to be an aviator. We have lost a most incredible man with Jack's passing. Predeceased by his adored wife, Gabrielle, Jack leaves to mourn his brother Jim, numerous nieces and nephews, and his own 6 children, Chris, wife Diane, Gary, Candy, husband Alan, Lori John, wife Chantel, and Shauna. 10 grandchildren, Christopher, Michael, Kelly, Kyle, Shannon, Jesse, Sebastian, Chelsea, Sarah, and Adam, and 2 great-grandchildren, Nathan and Neva. Also feel his loss, as do his beloved dogs Sasha and Cat Muffy. He would be so pleased to see that they have been placed in forever homes in BC. Jack was born in Harris, Saskatchewan, brother to 3 siblings. He was raised as a farm boy and also learned mechanics in his dad's car dealership. He curled and played hockey in the local rink. After seeing that airplane, he borrowed his older brother's ID and began flight training, soloing in Verdun in 1941 in the Tiger Moth. He eventually enlisted in Saskatoon in 1942 and went to war, flying for the RAF. Jack flew Lancasters in 30 sorties and met the love of his life, Gabrielle, in London, eventually bringing her home to the farm. After a few years, he realized that the Air Force was his calling and returned to the RCAF, from which he retired a lieutenant colonel in 1975. His love of aviation continued as he ran flying schools in England, then Sydney, BC, before opening his own school, Victoria Flight Training. Jack retired the 4th time in 2003 to raise dogs and cats with Gabby. Over the course of his career in aviation, Jack logged about 30,000 hours and was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross for his service in defending our great nation. Jack trained thousands of our current pilots, both civilian and military, including the very first team Snowbirds. Competed in the World Aerobatics Competition, tested fighter jets, and did cold weather experimental flying, designed part of the Tudor aircraft, wrote how to fly books, and created war games for NATO. He loved to tell stories, and some of his favorite were of Harris and farm life with his family here. Jack also loved his old cars, owning Bentleys and restoring a 1934 Pierce Arrow. Bye, Grampy. You will be missed.
Thanks, Jesse. I meant to mention earlier, there'll be an opportunity for anybody else who would like to say anything later on. I'll call on you. Right now, I'd like to ask, I guess, grandniece Lisa to play a piece for us.
This way? Thanks. Is that good?
Thank you very much, Lisa.
Thank you.
Jack's daughter Candy couldn't be here, but she had requested that Nancy read a favorite poem of hers called High Flight.
Yeah, she sent me the link to this.
Favorite poem of Jack's.
Yeah, it said it was written by Pilot Officer Gillespie McGee, number 4112 Squadron RCAF, killed December 11th, 1941. High flight. Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds and done 100 things you have not dreamed of, wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up, up, the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, where never lark or even eagle flew. And while with silent lifting mind I've trod the high untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God.
Thank you, Nancy. At this point, I guess I'd invite anybody at all who would like to say anything in remembrance of Jack.
I think you should start, Will.
I sort of did already when we were out in Sydney. I told a couple of stories. Oh, I will tell one story that won't come as much as a surprise to anyone here, really. Back before the days of the Snowbirds, there was an aerobatics team called the Golden Hawks. And they were based in Ontario, but when they were in Western Canada, they flew out of Saskatoon. And Uncle Jack would be in charge of scheduling a number of things, including the practices. So he'd have them come and fly out here. And they did the most wonderful acrobatics with colored smoke and the whole business. And you can imagine, I'm out in the schoolyard and I'm telling my friends, my uncle's the boss of those guys. That was a big deal, I got to tell you.
Did you ever get beat up for that?
No, I was admired. I did. David, you were going to say something?
Oh, well, no. We'd be sitting in class, and suddenly there'd be a sonic boom over the school. So, Jack's here. Yeah, we was flying out of Saskatoon. It was a regular thing. Sometimes it happened twice a week, but he'd always fly right over here. So, yeah. Well, of course, Grandma was here. Grandma and Grandpa were here. That was a way to say hi. Yeah. I remember when Wilf and I were visiting with Gary and family and Jack and Gay in Saskatoon, and he took us out to the hangar to go and sit in the Tudor jet. You remember that?
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that today because I remember how he said, "You guys head into the hangar." So I think Gary and Wilf and I are walking into the hangar, and this young military guy, looked like he was maybe 20, comes marching out toward us, wondering what these kids are doing. And Jack showed up, and he takes one look at Jack, snaps him a salute, and heads the other direction. So we got to go and sit in the cockpit of a Tudor jet.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I can remember him saying, "Whatever you do, don't pull that lever beside the seat." You mean this one? It was, of course, the ejection seat. Yeah, he explained it. Jack was a lot of fun to be with.
Yeah.
I rode in a few airplanes with him. He took me out for flights, and the first time, this is his method of training. He'd say, "Okay, Lori, grab onto something solid and pull your seat forward to adjust it." So naturally, I grabbed the steering wheel and go, "Whoop!" And he laughs.
I remember an occasion at Grandma and Grandpa's house, now Wilf's, when we were going to have a family portrait. There was really lots of the family present for the first time in ages, and Jack was standing behind the camera. And he got everybody lined up on the porch, and Dad's whispering, "As soon as he moves, everybody run." And we have a lovely picture of Jack sitting by himself on the porch, smiling peacefully.
But he forgot, one of the edge of the photograph, there's the tail of a dog. The dog didn't quite make it all the way up.